Check, 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 check. Content audio. Hey, Brian. Good to see you. I need to open up the actual. So, Brian, what I'm waiting for are people to come into the room just so I can test and see if it's possible for the audience to hear an inbound telephone call. Because I know I think I've resolved the issue of taking an inbound telephone call, but I don't know if the chat room can actually hear it. So I've got to wait for somebody to. Oh, I have it recorded. Can I record it? It's already being recorded. Do I need to display it? No, I've got to hear it on the stream. Otherwise, there's no guarantees. No guarantees. Shelly must be watching TV because I can hear her laughing out loud. I'm in the studio. So I'm thinking about doing a late night show tonight at 11 o'clock. I think is when I'm going to have to do it because I want to talk about some of the skills. Well, actually, AI and I want to talk about some of the skills that you need in treasure hunting. This kind of, or this, the kind of treasure hunting that we're doing now. Some comments here. Come on, people, just come in for a minute. So where are you? What state are you in, Brian? Colorado. Wow. I really liked Colorado. Colorado, as a matter of fact, if I hadn't moved back to New Mexico to be closer to family, well, actually, my first choice was Costa Rica. But then when my mother fell ill, I decided to stay in New Mexico. But if I had had a choice that wasn't Costa Rica or my mother having fallen ill, Colorado would have been my choice. I did spend a couple of years there. No, I don't know. It was a couple of years, probably 18 months, because I was working a project for, what agency was it? Defense Intelligence Agency. And it was a database. It was a database project. But it was for the DIA. And so it required a clearance. And they were working with Martin Marietta. And Martin Marietta didn't have any experts on their staff that knew database and had a clearance. So I spent a year and a half commuting between Denver and Fairfax, Virginia, which is where we were living at the time. And so I'd spend 2 weeks in Denver near the Martin Marietta, and they were on I-25. They were in an office center on just off of I-25 at County Line Road. And so I was living in a provided townhouse on County Line Road. So it took me about 5 minutes to get to the office when I was there. So I just commuted 2 weeks on, and then it wasn't a week back. It was a week back in Virginia and then 2 weeks back. And I did that for a year on behalf of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And that was the one where I made the presentation. Nobody wanted to make the presentation to the DIA. Oh, no. The DIA was their customer. So the DIA was looking for the database contract. They had put out an RFP, and Martin Marietta was responding to it with a couple of other whenever they do one of those big multi-million-dollar contracts, they always had more than one company bidding together. And so DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, was the agency that put out the request for proposals. And Martin Marietta was responding to it. Oh, you know what? It was even more complex with that because I had to travel. I had to travel to the Martin Marietta in Colorado and the Martin Marietta offices in Orlando, Florida. So it varied. I was going to say it was like 1 week in Fairfax, 2 weeks in Colorado. It wasn't. It was bouncing between Fairfax, where I lived, where my family lived, Denver, Colorado, where they had one Martin Marietta site, and Orlando, Florida, where they had the other Martin Marietta site. And I did that for a year and a half. And then they decided I was going to make, even though I was an employee, I didn't have to be, not that the DIA cared, but they decided I was going to do the presentation. And that was back in the olden days where presentations were on those transparencies. You know, you held them over a light and they projected on the wall. They were they were black and white, or, you know, clear and black. And everybody was nervous. It was like a $53 million contract, and everybody else just didn't want to do the presentation in front of all these DIA officers. And so they asked if I wanted to. Of course, why not? And I walked into the room, and I had this box of these transparencies in my hand, along with my briefcase and my. Did we have laptops back then? I don't think we even had laptops back, or phones back then. When was this? Probably in the 80s. Anyway, so we walked in, and I picked up my slides, and this young officer came up to me, and he said, "Is that your presentation?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "We're going to have you work from this end over by the projector." Remember, the projector had a big light box and then and it projected onto the wall. And I said, "Great, thank you." And I was walking around to the back, and he put my slides on top. He was supposed to put my slides on the top of the projector so I could get to them, but he kind of caused it to slide. And when he did, the box fell off the top of the projector, and the slides went streaming across this long table. And that's how it started. And I thought to myself, gee, many Christmas. I don't even know if the slides are in order. And these are complex slides. These are not like bullet points. These are how every penny is going to be spent and what they're going to get out of it. And anyway, so I got them all packaged up, got them sorted as much as I can. And again, this is in front of a room filled with what they call flag level officers, guys with stars on their shoulders, a couple of colonels, and listening to this presentation to make the decision about what they were going to do. And the guy that I was working for, his name was Jim, out of Martin Marietta, Jim Ellis. And he was an asshole. And everybody believed he was an asshole. But he pretty much left me alone because he knew I could walk away if I wanted to. I was a contractor, so I could just say, screw it, I'm not going to put up with this guy. And Ellis gave me this look, and he was a big guy. He was big, and he was broad, he was overweight, didn't look good. He always had dark circles under his eyes. And he gave me this look that I thought to myself, well, that guy does not like me. And then when that young officer slid my slides across the table, I thought, this is not going to go well. So I did the presentation, and it was an all-day presentation. We started at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and this was downtown. It was downtown DC. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was on the Virginia side. It was in the Pentagon. That's where the DIA is headquartered, in the Pentagon. So this was in the Pentagon, and it went from 9 to 12. We took a small coffee break, between 9 and 12 sometime. And then we broke for lunch, and they had lunch brought in, sandwiches, and, it was a catered lunch. It was very good. General officers, they get treated well. And then we went from 1 until 4. And then they had the opportunity to ask questions. And so we answered questions, and I say I probably answered 80% of the questions. If it was more like financial services, I would turn it over to the finance guy. But this was about the structure of this database application that they wanted to build. And so we answered questions for about 2 hours, from about 4 to 6. And we were wrapping up, and I thought, "Oh, God, I'm glad that's over with." And this general officer that had been sitting down at the other end of the table started walking towards me. I thought, crap, yeah, this is where he tells me that, he hated my work anymore. I put his hand out. I shook his hand, and he said, "That was the best goddamn presentation I've seen." And Mark Mary, they got the contract. And they tried to convince me to go to work for them. And as an independent contractor, you do not want to be working for one of those big companies like that, because you never know what contract you're going to be working and how long they're going to have it. So it's always iffy. I liked what I did. I liked what I did. But Jim Ellis, and he had a daughter. So here's another story. These are funny stories. So he had a daughter who was, I don't know, she wasn't much older than 18. And there was a guy on this team who became my good friend. As a matter of fact, whenever I was in Orlando, he and I would go out drinking together all on Friday nights. But he was married and he had like 3 kids. And Jim Ellis was going between Denver and Orlando, but he lived in Denver, and that's where his family was. Anyway, at some point, what was this guy's name? He was probably mid-30s, but he was very active, and Jim liked him. He had worked with him before. Anyway, he started on the sly. Every time he went to Colorado, he started dating Jim's 18-plus-year-old daughter. So he was in his mid-30s. She was just over 18, which meant like, okay, well, but still. And he was married. He was from Orlando. So every time he went to Colorado, they'd date and they'd party and they'd have a good time. And then at some point, he wanted to borrow. Oh no, we were sharing this townhouse that we were in was like a 4-bedroom townhouse. And so other people, I wasn't the only one that was using it, right? There were other people using it. At some point, he had to use it, and he brought this girl in. And she didn't know I was there. She actually didn't know who I was. And when Art, his name was Art. I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Art. When Art introduced me, she stopped and she said, like, "You're Toby?" And I said, yeah, I'm Toby. Why? And she said, "My dad is always talking about you." Like, is he talking about me good? Is he talking about me bad? When you say he's talking about me, how's he talking about it? And she said, "Oh, he likes you very much." I said, "Oh, great. Well, that's good." But they ended up having an affair, and his wife found out about it, and she divorced him, and he lost everything. He used to, when he was where he was living in Orlando, he had a Corvette. He had a 25th anniversary Corvette that he was very proud of. He lost that. He lost the house. He lost the wife, lost the 2 kids. And the relationship with the 18-year-old, and then Jim that was the other thing. Jim found out about Art messing around with his 18-year-old daughter, and he threw a fit. He threatened to fire him over it, and somehow or the other, they managed not to fire him. They just moved him to another. So about 3/4 of the way through the project, Art went off to another project. Jim threw him, and he never went back to Colorado, which is where the girl was, and she was about to move to Orlando. And then when he got divorced, the big plan was he would move back to Colorado. He bought her an engagement ring. He bought her a big diamond engagement ring when he was still married. And the plan was, once he got back, he would take his involvement in this project in Orlando, and he would move to Denver. Like, there was this big plan. So he lost everything on that side, and then they kept him in Orlando. So he never got back. He would have had to change it, and he didn't have anything now. It was all going in alimony and child support, and so he never got back to Colorado. So they never got married. She went on. She probably kept the ring, I guess. But yeah, that was the dynamics, and we got the contract, $53 million contract, and I got a bonus for doing the presentation. So those are the good old days. Those are the kinds of things that I did. So we got 4 people in the room. They're probably going like, why am I listening to this guy? I need someone out of the 4 of you to call the number that you see right there. I'll do this. Right there. 843-960-6094. So that's the Google, what do you call it? Google Voice number, but it's transferred to my phone here. So as usual, I'm just trying to figure out if the audience, the other people in the room, can actually hear the caller. I know they can hear me because they can hear me, but I want to see if they can hear the caller as well. So if one of you in the room, one of the 5 of you in the room would call that number, and over there, that number, right? Never mind. There's a number below me. Call that number so we can see if the other people in the room, and then I'm going to go leave after we just test it. Everybody nods their head. Then I'm going to go leave and make dinner for Shelley and I, and then I'll be back. I'm going to try and make it by 11. I got a lot of preliminary work to do because Jason and I, the chatbot, my chat friend, have a lot to talk about. So I just got to wait for one of you to call. I promise not to be mean to you. If you have any questions, I can answer your questions. If you want to talk about Forrest Fenn, I can talk about Forrest Fenn. I don't know, everybody, I get calls and people still want to, I get emails. I still get, I don't know, 2 to 3 emails a week that want to talk about the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. And I don't know what to tell them because I've been so, I've been far removed from it for, 5 years now? June of 2020. So yeah, over 5 years since it was, I don't like saying found. I still think it was recovered rather than found. But what can I say? Come on, people, do me a favor. Minor thing. You don't even have to identify yourself. Use your screen name. Or you don't have to do anything. Just we'll talk for a little bit to see if the other people in the room can figure out whether or not they can hear us. So you got somebody at your house, Brian, saying you can convince them to call. Look at Brian, good guy. So that's tonight's story. My experience with the DIA contract at my experience in Martin Marietta Data Systems and the DIA the infamous DIA contract. And back then, $53 million was a pretty good sized contract. Back in the olden days, it was a pretty good sized contract. And my contract with them was a pretty good sized contract because I had the expertise and it required a clearance. And I had the expertise and I had the clearance, and that was money back then. Back in the olden days. All right, Brian, I'm counting on you and whomever you are having call. I should talk to Chad for a minute.
Hey there. How's it going?
Pretty good, Chad. What are you up to?
Hey there. Not much. Just here and ready to help out however you need.
Okay, so I'm thinking about getting on tonight around 11. I'm waiting for somebody to call in because I want to see if the call-in, Mary, answered promotional redemption company. Do I have the wrong number?
Oh, no worries at all.
Chat, I'm going to put you on hold for just a sec. That's the wrong number. That's why. No wonder it's Chua. Hang on, guys. Wrong number. My bad. I should know this because I picked this number for a reason. Okay, there's the right number. 843-900-6094. Sorry, Mary. Sorry about that. Some promotional company. Some South Carolina promotional company. So hopefully this won't take long. What time is it? It's 5:46. I need to start dinner. Because tonight's movie night. Friday night is movie night. We went shopping this afternoon and we found we were at Lowe's Foods as opposed to Lowe's Hardware. And It's kind of an upscale store. It's like a Wegmans, I think, but it has all kinds of stuff. And we're checking out, and Shelly said there was a little small freezer there with ice cream, containers in it. And I said, why don't you get some ice cream for tonight? And she said,
A Gypsy's Kiss on Google Voice.
let's see. Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Is Toby there?
It is Toby. Who's this?
Oh, this is Dan for Brian. We was having trouble getting through and got several different ones before we got the right one. It sounds like
that was my fault. I put the wrong number up on the screen. So let's see, Brian, can you hear us in the chat room? Just say again. Oh, there's Huli. Hi, Huli. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Can you guys hear me? Can the chat room hear us?
Yeah, we can hear.
You can?
Yeah.
I wonder if I have to do the mix minus on this. Hang on just 1 second. Dan, do me a favor and talk for just a second.
All right.
2. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Smart system. No. Just give me 1 second. I think I have to make sure there's no feedback. Are you, Dan, are you getting feedback from me on your side?
No feedback on this side.
Okay, well, that's good. Let me see.
Yeah, we can hear you very well. So things are working, it sounds like.
It does sound like it, thankfully. Let's see. USB 1 chat. There's that. Oh, mix minus is on. Okay, that's why. Well, good. All right, so the chat room can hear us, and I can hear you. How long is there? I know there's a delay in the chat room behind hearing us, but is there a longer delay between my voice and your voice?
It doesn't sound like it.
Oh,
sounds pretty direct.
well, great. Well, we're going to start taking inbound calls for our shows then, I think. Add that little
Good.
feature to it. Let me see if, hold on. I'm going to bring Chad onto it. I need to see if he can hear you. Hey, Chad, can you hear me? Chad, Jason?
Yeah, there's about a 10-second delay between, yeah, he says 2 seconds between.
Voice chat ended. So here's the interesting thing. Now I can't hear Jason. Hey, chat. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you on this end, okay.
Yeah, but he can't. So I can't do chat and AI at the same time. Or I can't do phone call and AI at the same time. Okay, that's okay. I can live with that.
Okay.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to call.
You bet, and have a good afternoon.
You too. Thank you. Thank Brian for me.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hey there. Sounds like a plan.
So I'm kind of concerned because when I was talking to Dan on the call-in line, I tried to reach out to you, but you couldn't hear me, and I couldn't hear you.
Got it. That makes sense. Sounds like you're just trying to troubleshoot that call-in setup and make sure the audio flows both ways.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Just making sure. Okay. Thanks, Chad.
Absolutely. You're welcome. We'll just work through it step by step. Just let me know when.
Ready to test, and we'll figure it out together. Okay, guys, I got to go make dinner. Thank you very much for your help. I truly appreciate it. And I'm going to try to start taking in calls on some of our shows. I don't know necessarily there's a lot of people who want to call in and talk, but now I know that I can do it, and it's a good, clean call, and other people can hear it, so that's good. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hope you guys all had a happy Thanksgiving. We did, and we had some plans for the weekend, but there's a show that Chat and I, ChatGPT and I have been planning, and I'm trying to decide. I don't think it's going to be tonight. I think it's going to be tomorrow night because I haven't done all the front end or all the production work. So, but it's on generic treasure hunting rather than a particular treasure. The next JCB treasure hunt program will be on Wednesday, and that's episode 2 in this 3-episode series I'm going to be doing. So just playing. We're just playing. All right, guys. Ciao. Have a great night.
Thank you for watching episode 1 of our 3